So you want to be a dungeon master?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're taking a pit stop back at class to talk all about the Artificer. These tinkering little scientists combine the arcane with the mechanical. They're hopped up on a few infusions attuned to the max and have all the tools in the arsenal at their disposal. They may be one of the newest classes to make it to D&D, but the Artificer is here to stay, which is ironic because it's not in the 2024 Player's Handbook, which is why we're talking about it now. These guys have so many infusions, they can get a little chonky with the crunch. But we'll just be going over the base class with this episode, and then in the next episode, going over all the subclasses. But let's get right into it. But first... Who's going to be about first? We have a question this time from a Patreon member, Talkscreen. Over on the Discord server, Talkscreen asks... Well, first, there's a small statement and then a question. But, okay. I feel like different people handle insight differently, and I'm curious about y'all's take. If someone rolls insight and they roll low, do they then trust the person they rolled against? Or can their character still be overall distrustful of that person, and they just have no reason to disbelieve what they are saying at that moment? So this idea of insight checks, how they work at our tables as DMs and stuff like that, how we handle them. Is it a lie detector test? How much does it, I guess some of the question is asking, how much do we force the player to role play? Oh, Taylor, you rolled really low on that insight. You have to trust everything this person is saying.
No. I mean, that's just taking away player agency at that point. I honestly, it's a little column A, little column B, though. What I mean by that is, yeah, sometimes it is just the character is trying to figure out, hey, can I trust this person? And if they roll low, then I don't know that I would immediately be like, oh yeah, you implicitly trust this person. It's more of you're not able to really pick up on them. It's more like they've got a stonewall poker face where you're not able to pick up any additional hints of their motivations or whatever. Because at the end of the day, it's not like a lie detector. There's spells for that. Zone of truth, stuff like that. At the end of the day, they really are just trying to kind of figure out if there's some kind of ulterior motives or something that they're trying to hide, they're hiding. Something along those lines. In which case, the insight roll would let you know, if they're hiding something, and not even necessarily that they're lying to you straight to your face, or that you can tell if they have bad intentions, which in some cases you definitely can tell, but not all the time. Sometimes
Yeah, it's complicated. It's hard because there are some actual plays who handle insight checks very specifically. And it's easy to watch those and be like, this is how it's done. For example, I started my D&D journey with Critical Role. And in Critical Role, they fall into that school of insight checks where as the bad guy is talking, a player will just yell, insight check.
Right.
And then they'll roll the insight check, and then sometimes they get a good number, sometimes they get a bad number. Often when they get a bad number, Matt Mercer does exactly what you said, where it's just hard to get a read on this guy. It's not, you definitely think he's telling the truth. It's just, you can't tell.
Right.
It seems, he might say something, and I say this as well, the idea that it seems like he's being honest. You're not noticing anything out of place. He's hard to read. And then if they get a high roll, what Matt will sometimes do, and he does this especially because they play in person in a studio, is he'll stand up and walk around the DM screen and whisper in their ear, because presumably this insight check is something that only that character knows.
Right.
And then also he can give as much detail or as little detail as possible. Who knows what's behind those whispers? I have no idea. And then it's up to the player to decide how and when they're going to reveal this, because if you're at a banquet with a evil person and you insight check, and I out loud say, yeah, you know this guy is planning something. He's planning to kill you all, blah, 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 blah. It's very hard for the other players. They could be amazing role players. It is still hard for the other players not to be influenced by that.
Right.
So sometimes...
he's going to kill us. We're just going to go ahead and we're popping this thing off right now.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, none of you know that. Only the person who rolled the insight check knows that. So sometimes I can see the benefit of like DMing somebody or doing the one-on-one voice chat or whispering in someone's ear if that's what your table wants to do. But yeah, I definitely don't want to influence or get in the way of player agency. So I definitely wouldn't say something like, from now on, you will believe everything this person says, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's crazy. And even the reverse, I'm not going to necessarily be like, this person will never be able to lie to you again. It's like, no, it's just an insight check. It's just you pick up some body language. You figure out a little bit of extra stuff. Maybe there is in his voice breaking a little bit. Maybe his eyes are darting around. There's some body language. You can tell that there's something amiss. And then because of the way that I handle DCs, like a lot of times in D&D 5th edition, the difficulty class is this idea of like a binary success or fail, which is not always the case, but sometimes. I don't like that. There are very few times where I'm strict about that. Most of the time it's a scale. So it's like, you got to hit at least a 10 to get anything. And then the higher you roll, the more shit you get.
Yeah.
That way... Even when people fail, they fail forward, which if you're a listener, we're big on that.
We're big on failing forward here.
Yeah. So that's how I think we would run it, is if you roll low, it's very much, this guy's just hard to read.
Yeah. You can't tell what he's thinking.
Yeah. And then if you get really close, maybe I'll say something like, yeah, he might be leaving something out. And I'll kind of put it in those terms, like this very up in the air. He might be holding something back. You're not really sure. That way it makes sense for the player to still have this disbelief. Mm-hmm. But then also maybe if they roll a 1 on the insight check, it'll just straight up be like, this guy's impossible to read. For all you know, everything he's saying is 100% the full truth. Right. But who knows? And I still leave it with the but who knows part. I'm not telling you that you just instantly believe everything. I'm still putting the ball in your court. I'm just flavoring it as you're not going to be able to read this guy. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, hopefully talk screen that answered your question. We have so much to go over with the Artificer. He's a chunky boy, in my opinion.
He's a chunky boy.
I don't know a ton about him. I've DM'd for several Artificers, and I usually just leave it up to the player. I'm one of those DMs who's very hands-off when it comes to mechanical player stuff, unless it's new players.
Yeah.
Then I'll be like, okay, level 2, you have these invocations. These are the ones that are really popular, but you can pick anyone. Then I'll get more hands-on. But when I'm playing with experienced players like Taylor or a lot of the people we play actual plays with, it's literally yeah, you guys are level 5.
Cool.
Whatever.
Do what you will.
Yeah. And they're like, do you want me to show you character sheets? And I'm like, I just need to know your AC and your hit points. And maybe the skills you're really good at, because that can help me in a DMing sense. But I don't need to know all your class abilities or what spell. I don't even give a shit what spells you picked. I trust you to have the right number of spells, so you're not breaking the game in a silly, literally cheating way.
Right.
But for the most part, I let the players do what they want, and for that reason, I don't know a ton about the Artificer. So Taylor, I'm gonna kind of lean on you this episode.
That's cool. I've played a couple of them now. Yeah, I've played a couple of them now. I've been spending my time inside the Artificer character sheets. So, yeah, the Artificer's a lot of fun to play. It's kind of, we'll just get right into it. As far as party role for the Artificer, you're going to be a little bit DPS and then a little bit just kind of all jack of all trades type of deal. Yeah. You do get a lot of really cool infusions and stuff for your armor. So if you want to go up front, you totally can. That's totally viable. If you want to stay in the back, you can also modify weapons. You can modify even like spell foci. Like you can do all of that, and then basically stay in the back line and then do stuff like that. There's healing infusions. There's all kinds of different ways, especially when we get into the subclasses and stuff. The subclasses are so much fun. There's a lot of like each subclass is vastly different from the others and what you can do and kind of the flavor of how you do things with each one. So, but yeah, so Artificer, your role is whatever the hell you want it to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. You can be an off healer. You can be support. You have a ton of versatility outside of combat. You could focus on damage and go front line, back line, mid line. Is that a thing? Drum line, Nick Cannon. Heyo.
Heyo.
Moving on. Who cares if I can't read music, Doc? I'm the best drummer in the line.
So, yeah,
that
on that
still
note,
hits, right? That's still relevant?
Yeah, it's super relevant to today. Let's get into the actual nuts and bolts here for the Artificer. Start off, you got a D8 hit die. Again, you're kind of right down there in the middle with the monk, stuff like classes like that, standard DPS stuff. You are proficient with light and medium armor and shields. I do recommend, if you're going to go frontline with it, you pick up a feat that gets you the heavy armor proficiency. I do believe the armorer subclass will give you... It allows you to basically make yourself proficient with a specific set of armor, so you can kind of maybe not get heavy armor proficiency, but you can make yourself proficient with one specific set of heavy armor that you can wear.
Yeah.
As far as tools, tools are going to be your best friend. You'll start off with Thieves' Tools and Tinker Tool proficiency, and then you get to pick one type of Artisan's tools. Eventually, you'll be proficient with all of them. You're just going to be proficient with tools in general. So, but those are the three that you start with. As far as saving throw proficiencies, you got Constitution and Intelligence. Both of those make a lot of sense and actually like really good for this class. As far as like, because Intelligence is going to be your main spellcasting modifier, and then with the high Constitution, concentration checks are going to be a breeze.
Yeah, that's really good right off the bat.
And then as far as skill proficiencies, you'll be able to pick 2 from Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, and Sleight of Hand.
Heck yeah. And then there's like the optional rule for firearm proficiency as well.
Yes.
Like if your game has firearms, it's very likely that your Artificer will be proficient with them and be familiar with them, because in the majority of D&D 5th edition settings, firearms are like a technological advancement.
Right.
Yeah. That's just something.
So this is kind of that bit of playing into, okay, I figured out how to make this type of deal or what have you, and now I have this cool piece of tech that is light years ahead of, Sword and Shield, But yeah, so moving on to your first little thing you get at first level for Artificer is Magical Tinkering. This lets you make little tools or little kind of mini half magic items type of deal. Basically, you'll touch a tiny non-magical object and you'll give it some kind of property. Either you can make it a light source, which does 5 feet of bright light and 5 feet of dim light outside of that. You can record a message that can be heard up to 10 feet away. You can make it emit a smell or some kind of non-verbal sound, like waves crashing or like the wind blowing or something like that. Or you can put a picture on it, some kind of static image, or up to 25 words.
Pretty cool.
And then these little things that you do last indefinitely. You can only get a certain number of objects up to your intelligence modifier. as soon as you make the next thing after you've made those whatever your modifier is items, the oldest one goes away first.
Yeah.
You can spend an action to end an effect early. So if you don't want to lose, say, your little flashlight that you made, you can end the effect on a different item, so you have the space to make a new one.
Cool. I could see that being fun. Whenever tapped by a creature,
I don't really use this
much. I imagine myself using the recording one the most.
Yeah.
And specifically in the context of distractions and silly stuff like that. And maybe also it is specific about you.
Yeah.
You utter the message when you bestow the property. I was trying to think of how to use it like a fucking like a wire. And like record somebody else saying something. But hey, if for some reason, man, if you had the actor feat and you could mimic somebody's voice, that would be crazy.
Yeah. I really don't find myself using this a whole lot, but that's just because the tables that I'm playing them at don't generally have any necessity for this type of stuff. Like, the 10 feet of light, most of I've played a goblin, and then I'm actually playing a human on our current run. But like, for the most part,
but it's been daytime the whole time.
Right. Yeah. For the most part, like, I don't really need like a flashlight or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good for message purposes. It's good for kind of distraction purposes. It is just one of those good things to just have when you need it. But yeah, so let's get into the spellcasting. Like I said earlier, intelligence modifier. You're going to use a set of artisan's tools as your spellcasting focus, whether that be smith tools or like alchemy set or something like that. We just did the tool set episode, and they're all out of my mind already. I've forgotten all of them. You do start with 2 cantrips. You can prepare up to your intelligence modifier plus half of your artificer level spells per day. You do that every day on a long rest, so you can change your spells every day at a long rest whenever. And you are a ritual caster, which is nice.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize you get to change your spells every long rest. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're pretty much like a half wizard. Oh, yeah. Artificer's also, I believe, what they call a half caster. In that you don't really get super high level spells. I think you max out at
5.
5, yeah.
Yeah, it almost follows like Paladin.
Right.
Not exactly, but pretty close.
Yeah.
At least you get cantrips, though.
Hell yeah. Love them cantrips.
A lot of cool cantrips. You get a lot of the Blade Singer ones, like Green Flame Blade, Booming Blade, that kind of shit. But a lot of the ones you expect, I suppose. You do get Spare the Dying, which is interesting. So that's going to be the differentiation between this and Wizard, other than how many other martial opportunities Artificer gets. But in terms of spells, is that, like, even at first level, you're getting a lot of Wizard stuff, but then you get, like, Cure Wounds. Which is
exactly,
cool.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of wizardy. Sanctuary, Tasha's Caustic Brew is a great spell. Identify, Grease, Featherfall, Fairy Fire, Expeditious Retreat. Mainly support stuff.
Yeah. Because as an Artificer, you're going to be basically making your items and then going into combat with them. You're not going to be doing a whole lot of, like, offensive spell casting. You're going to be doing attacks.
Yeah.
And that's what you get at level 1.
And your ritual caster.
Yep, and ritual casting. So anything that's got the ritual tag on it and on your list there, you can just do as a ritual if need be.
Sick.
Which is
love
really
a good
nice.
Ritual cast.
Yeah. I do love me some ritual casting as well. It's nice to be able to, get the buff and not have to worry about spending a slot on them,
Yeah, for sure. And being able to make the choice, like if in the game you're pressed for time, like you could just blow a spell and cast detect magic.
Right.
I like having the option.
Absolutely. And then starting at level 2 here for Artificer, this is where things get a little chonky, crunchy boy on this. Starting at level 2, you're able to start infusing items. What that means is you're taking a non-magical item and then imbuing it with a magical property. So you'll start with 4 infusions that are on. There's a big table that we'll go over after we get the basics out. You'll start with 4. You do get additional infusions based on the Artificer table. Goes up to 3 at level, 6. You'll get two more at level 6, 2 more at level 10, 14, and 18. By level 18, you'll have 12 infusions that you can do.
Well, there's 12 infusions that you'll know.
Right.
And then you can have 6 infused items.
Right.
Yeah, there's like a little confusing, but there's like 2 different columns. How many infusions you're allowed to know and how many you're allowed to have active. So almost like the wizard spellbook, where you like your wizard spellbook can know all of these spells, but you can only prepare X number. Right,
exactly. Every time you level up, you can switch out your infusions. If you find you're not using one, you are able to switch it out. It's also very handy because at certain levels, you'll get access to better infusions. And if you want more of the higher level stuff, you can drop the low level stuff.
Yeah.
After a long rest, you can infuse an item. So it does take a long rest to do this. The maximum number of infused items you can do is also on that Artificer table. As far as, like Justin was saying, there's 2 columns. One of them is how many you know. One of them is how many you can do. These infusions will remain indefinitely. Same rules as the little tiny magical items the magical tinkering items that you can do. Oldest wears off, you can choose to end it on a certain thing. Some of the infusions that you can do are like replicate magic item, which like you could make a bag of holding. If you have a bag that you've turned into a bag of holding and it has things in it, when you end that infusion, all its contents just kind of appear around in its space. So it's not like it's lost forever. It just kind of, all the stuff falls out and then it stops being magical.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so that's kind of the basics of how the infusions work. Let's go over what the different infusions do.
Okay.
Do you want to kick us off? You seemed really excited about this first one.
Oh, yes. If we're going alphabetical, then I would be more than happy to. So almost like this is how I do things in my brain. This is like my flavor of autism is I compare things and I make these comparisons in my head and it just makes everything make sense. So for me, these infusions are a lot like Eldritch Invocations in the sense of some of them have prerequisites. Some of them, you know what I mean? In that way, they're almost a little bit like that. So
yeah,
the first one is Arcane Propulsion Armor. You have to be 14th level Artificer. So not 14th level character, 14th level Artificer. In order to get this item, it is a suit of armor that requires attunement. When you are wearing this armor, you gain the following benefits. First, your walking speed increases by 5 feet. That's a nice little perk. The armor also includes gauntlets, each of which is a magic melee weapon that can be wielded only when the hand is holding nothing. But the wearer is proficient with the gauntlets, and each one deals 1d8 force damage on a hit, and they have the thrown property with a 20-60 range. When thrown, the gauntlet detaches, flies at the attack's target, and then immediately returns to the wearer and reattaches.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
So
I'm curious in practice how this would play out at this level. You know what I mean? Like if
because it is
anyone's
14th level,
that's choosing this. Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of infusions. Maybe it is an extra infusion, and who knows? I don't know. It does feel like 1d8 force damage. Like that's crazy. The monk is doing unarmed damage and is definitely above a d8, I think, at 14th level. I don't know. For some reason I'm like, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
The armor cannot be removed against the wearer's will. And then there's this part about if the wearer's missing any limbs, the armor can replace those limbs. The replacements function identically to the body parts they replace. Yeah. I mean, that last part is one of those things where I think it's an interesting discussion about people with disabilities and stuff like that. And it's just like, I don't know how. I get it.
Yeah.
You live in a magical world. Like, it makes sense that there's different, means to help people and stuff like that. And it makes sense that this 14th level magical armor would do that for sure. I'm just like, okay. I don't. Maybe it's because in my games, I'm never like taking away people's limbs, so I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling like. Is it's just kind of, this is an adventurer that wants to continue adventuring type of deal. Like, they've lost a leg and they still want to fight, so have a leg. My dude.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I'm the type of DM too who would be like, it all depends on the player and like a level of respect and like representation and like what's going on truly. But like, if a player wanted to play, like, I'd also be fine with, if you wanted to play a character in a wheelchair, I'd be fine with that happening and it being badass as hell, because fucking magic exists. I don't give a shit.
That's right.
But also, like, as long as it's being done with care and like the respect that it requires, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to have anybody play somebody in a wheelchair because they think it's, I don't know, funny or something. But assuming it was done right, I don't care if you replace your limbs with this magical armor or if you have a wheelchair or I don't know. But
yeah,
that's all I'll say about that. Moving on.
Next one, we're looking at the Armor of Magical Strength. Now, this one has no level requirement on it, so you can get this one right off the bat. It does require a suit of armor that requires attunement. Part of the, I'll say this really quick too, because I didn't say it up top. Part of the process of infusing these items, if it requires attunement, you can also perform the attunement while you're making it. So that's cool. You don't have to spend another hour after you spend your whole long rest making this item, spend another hour on top of that just to attune it. You can you can do it all in one go. Anyway, Armor of Magical Strength. It's got 6 charges. The wearer can expend the armor's charges to either when you do a strength check or a strength saving throw, you can add a bonus to the roll equal to your intelligence modifier, which is dope. Or if you're going to get knocked prone, you can spend a charge to stay standing up. And then you get 1d6 charges back at dawn.
Yeah. And that second one also costs a reaction.
Correct.
But still dope.
But yeah, so this kind of allows you to not need strength for certain things. You can just use your intelligence modifier, which should be high as an artificer.
Yeah.
So that's pretty dope. Do the next one?
Cool. The next one, are we counting Armor of Tools, which has a little UA next to it for Unearthed Arcana?
I don't think so.
Counts. Okay. Boots of the Winding Path. For this, you need to be 6th level Artificer, a pair of boots that requires attunement. While wearing these boots, a creature can teleport up to 15 feet as a bonus action to an unoccupied space that the creature can see. The creature must have occupied that space at some point during the current turn. So it's very much about returning to a square on the grid map that you've been to within that turn. But could be really interesting. That's a really interesting way to like get up close, do some damage. You don't have to worry about opportunity attacks ever.
Back off immediately, yeah.
Yeah, even from Sentinel.
Yeah, because you're teleporting. It's not like you're not leaving.
Listen up, like, DMs who have players with Sentinel.
This is how you beat it.
This is what the robots in Sphinx City should have had. All I needed was an infused Boots of the Winding Path. Gee dang it.
Gee dang it. Next one, we're looking at the enhanced arcane focus. The arcane focus has got to be a rod, a staff, or a wand, and that will also require attunement. And then while you're holding the item, you get a +1 to spell attack rolls. And also you can ignore half cover when you're making a spell attack. And then at level 10, that bonus increases to a +2. This is another one you can get right off the bat. No level requirement, anything like that. The interesting thing about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wording of it is an arcane focus. As an artificer, you don't use arcane focuses. So, like, technically, you can't use this on yourself because your spellcasting focus is artisan's tools, and this says no, doesn't have artisan's tools up there.
Interesting. I would allow
the wording of the infusions does allow you to pass an infused item over to somebody else. It doesn't, like, for sure. These infusions don't have to apply to just you, so you could put this on another player, like like put a +1 on another spellcaster's arcane focus. But rules as written, you're not going to be able to give yourself that +1.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I would super be okay with this. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. I see what you're saying, because it is like, it does mention a rod, a staff, or a wand.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm cool with it.
That's fair. D&D Beyond.
Only, especially because, too, like, there are a lot of classes that don't use a rod, a staff, or a wand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, a druid might use a staff. I'm trying to think of, most of them can use those things, but they don't have to. So it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things where, I wouldn't give a shit. If the artificer wanted to use this and give it to themselves, I'm fine. You can enhance your tinker's tools, whatever. Because it's like, it's a powerful for sure. Getting a +1 is always great, but it's only to spell attack rolls.
Right.
So it doesn't affect saving throws. Like your spell save DC, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I'm fine with it. But the next one is pretty similar. Enhanced defense. The item is a suit of armor or a shield. You gain a +1 to armor class while either wielding that shield or wearing that armor. And same thing, at 10th level, it increases to a +2.
Mm-hmm.
So artificers have a possibility of reaching some insane ACs. Especially
the armor artificer, because the high levels let you put an infusion on each separate piece of the armor. So like your gauntlets, your pauldrons, your breastplate, your greaves, all of it can have different shit on it. The next one's pretty much the same boat. Enhanced weapon gives you +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. When you hit level 10, it goes to a +2.
Yeah.
You can put that on any simple or martial weapon.
It's pretty dope. It is really nice. Especially because
you're making
at low
+1s.
levels, you're making +1, but you're also making magic weapons out of non-magical weapons. So depending on how your DM runs magic weapons and like how early they dish them out and stuff like that, because I've played it both ways. I've played that route where I give everyone a +1 item, or at least make their weapon magical in some way very, very early. And then there are other times where I hold back a little bit and I don't do it until like level 6 or something like that. And it makes a huge difference. There are so many monsters who have resistance to non-magical damage. And this would change all of that, having an artificer who can do this. Because, again, 100%. It doesn't need to be the artificer's weapon after it's done. So that's huge.
Yeah, you can.
And it's not attuned.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas a +1 weapon is almost always a tuned thing.
Is it really? I've never noticed that.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that in 5e, like a +1 short sword, I'm almost positive that it requires attunement.
Wild.
Yeah. Anyway, next up, Helm of Awareness. Prerequisite, you got to be 10th level artificer. This, you also need a helmet. And when you're done, it's going to require attunement. While you are wearing this helmet, a creature has, or while you're wearing this helmet, you have advantage on initiative rolls. And in addition, you cannot be surprised, provided that you are not incapacitated. So that's pretty sick. So yeah, far a lot of these items are kind of like taking a feat and slightly nerfing it, but still, it's fucking sick.
Pretty much free feats, like
a
bunch of, and you can hot swap them. Like if you're not, again, if you wind up not using X, Y, or Z feat, you at level 10, you'll know 8 infusions, and you'll have 4 infused items. If you're not using one of them, guess what? You can just swap it out for something else.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On a long rest, you can just, no, I'm not using that one. One of the things that I can kind of see you doing something like that with is our next one, the Homunculus Servant. The requirement for it, the item that you use for it, is a gem or crystal that's worth at least 100 GP. DMs, talk to your players. I would be willing to give a homunculus, because there's no level requirement. I would be willing to give a homunculus to a level 1 player without them finding this 100 GP gem somehow, or I would just give them a 100 GP gem just so they can do this, because that's one of, like, you're an artificer. This is one of the things that you're supposed to be able to do as an artificer. It'd just be kind of rude to not let them do that.
Yeah. I agree. I handle Find Familiar the same way. Because Find Familiar costs, like, to recast costs like 10 gold worth of incense and shit. Right. So I always tell players that they, like, if you have Find Familiar, I'm like, by the way, you got 30 GP worth of incense. That way, God forbid their familiar dies or something. It's not like, we got to get to the next town so I could sell all this leather armor we picked up. It's like, no. You can get your fucking familiar.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
because that's really expensive. 100 GP is really expensive at first level.
Yeah, for sure. Especially at first level. I mean, I'm always down for the player who's like building up to the homunculus.
Yeah.
And is like,
sure.
I'm looking for that 100 GP crystal that we find or something like that. Like, I like that.
Absolutely.
Like, from role playing standpoint. But I agree with Taylor. If you're trying to do it at level 1, I'm fine with it.
So as far as what the homunculus does, basically you're going to infuse the crystal thing, and then a body is going to appear around it, which you determine what it looks like. It's friendly to you and your companions. It obeys your commands. There is a stat block for it. It's a tiny construct, so it's just a little guy. As far as, like, the other things for it, as far as combat, it'll share your initiative, but it goes after you. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes is the dodge action, unless you use a bonus action to command it to take another action. That is also true for the Battlesmith Artificer's
Steel Defender
guy. Same type of deal. It's on your initiative, but it goes after you, and you can either bonus action tell it to attack, or it can do any of the regular actions of, like, help or something like that. But it costs your bonus action to have them do any action other than dodge.
Yeah, which is true for a lot of companion stuff.
Yeah.
Homunculus, Steel Defender. It's also true for, like, the College of Creation Bard, the Wildfire Druid.
Right.
So, yeah, a lot of classes and subclasses that have a little buddy, they almost always follow that same text of the only takes a dodge action unless... And then the same with the next part, too, that if you are incapacitated part. Yeah,
once you're incapacitated, the homunculus can do whatever it wants, not just dodge, because you're not there to give it commands. The cool thing about the homunculus, and, like, the artificer little buddies, you can use mending on them, which is a cantrip that gives them 2d6 hit points back, which is really nice.
That is nice.
Rather than having to actually, like, heal them with some kind of spell, you can just cantrip, bang, give them health back.
Yeah, because the homunculus doesn't. They're rocking an AC of 13 that almost never goes up.
Yeah. So, like, the homunculus is, like, in my mind, just kind of like the Find Familiar for Artificer.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. It's got a force strike attack. It's got evasion, which is really fucking cool. Most familiars don't have that.
And it does have a fly speed too. It's got 30 feet of fly.
And it's got that fly speed. And it's immune to poison. And it has a reaction called Channel Magic. So the homunculus can deliver a spell that you cast that has a range of touch. It must be within 120 feet of you. So that's really cool. You can get creative with some weird shit. If you're trying to, like...
As far as, like, touch spells, it's... you're not really having a whole lot of damage touch spells.
No, unfortunately not.
But you can provide a buff or do cure wounds or something at a distance.
Yeah.
There are a handful, like there are some good buffs that you can apply that have the touch range. So there is that.
There's a lot of really good touch spells that are specifically exactly like you said, like buffs to your teammates, spider climb, magic weapon, protection from poison.
Yeah.
What is that one? Rope trick is touch. That's interesting. That'd be crazy. But then there's also like arcane lock is a touch spell. So you could get real creative with it. It would just depend on choosing your spells really specifically. Like, I don't know. Artificers don't get that many spells. So it's like, how much do you really want to like design the spells just based off of? But then again, you get to redo it at every fucking long rest. So maybe there's a time when you're like, hey, for this fucking day, I know arcane lock. That way, I don't know, if one of the bad guys is like moving around and goes into a room, I can just like send my homunculus and be like, go lock that door, please. It's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Glyph of warding.
Glyph of warding is cool.
You can have it fly behind enemy lines and then like push them into it. Yeah, it's cool. There's a lot of fun things you can do with that little guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's all he is. He's just a little guy. Don't expect him to be going in and doing stuff super super hard. I think it does have 4 strike, which is it's a 30-foot range. It's 1d4 plus your proficiency bonus, force damage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it about the homunculus. We'll get more into the crazy stuff when we get into the steel defender and the battlesmith.
Mm-hmm. But after the homunculus, next up we have the mind sharpener. For this, you're going to need a suit of armor or robes, so pretty much anything that you're wearing. It's kind of how I interpret that. But anyway, this infused item can send a jolt to the wearer to refocus their mind. The item has 4 charges. When you fail a Constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, you can use a reaction to expend one of the charges and instead just succeed. And then you regain 1d4 charges at dawn.
This is wild. You just basically you give yourself legendary resistances to Constitution saves.
To concentration checks.
Concentration checks. That's what I meant. Yeah. Concentration checks. When it comes to concentration checks, you have legendary resistance. If you fail, you can be like, nah, I've actually passed.
Yeah, you have up to 4 a day, which is really, really good, really interesting and powerful. But also, as in my opinion, as a DM, I don't think it's that like game breaking.
No,
just because it does take that reaction, and I'm telling you, anytime a half caster or full caster is using a reaction to do one thing, it's good. Because then that's just one less use of shield or counter spell.
Right.
Or absorb elements, which I have recently, like in our home game, have found out how fucking powerful that spell can be. Because, every time I'm playing as a player, I'm like level 5. So absorb elements is always like, okay, I take 3 less fire damage. But then I forget that it's like, oh, well, when the players are level 12, they're going to be taking 70 fire damage from a dragon.
Right.
The absorb elements, that first level spell, really comes in clutch.
It really does. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, anything that uses a reaction, I'm always down for that.
Hell yeah. Next item, we're looking at the radiant weapon, or infusion, I should say. Radiant weapon. Prerequisite is you got to be 6th level, and you're going to put this on, obviously, a weapon. It can be simple or martial, whatever. It does require attunement. So you're going to get the +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with it, so it's going to be a +1. But then also, while you're holding it, you can take a bonus action to shed bright light in a 30-foot radius, and then dim light for additional 30 feet. You can extinguish the light as a bonus action. You also get some charges that go with it. As a reaction, after you get hit by an attack, you can expend a charge, and then you can cause the attacker to be blinded until the end of the attacker's next turn. They do have a Constitution saving throw that they can take against your spell save DC. and then you get 1d4 charges back daily at dawn. That's wild. You can just
That
flashbang
is
something
wild.
that hits you.
That's insane. Because
Right.
there's a tiny part of me that actually thinks that the game design here is really interesting, because so if I'm 600 feet away from you, I have sharpshooter, and I hit you with an arrow, your mace is causing me to be blinded.
Mm-hmm.
That's silly. How is it
1000%.
reaching 600 feet? The fact that there's no range on this, to me personally, I feel like is a little crazy. Just because it's specifically the weapon. If it was the armor, that would make more sense, because it's like I'm hitting the armor. I get that. But it's just attack rolls, and there's no range. So the idea is like anything that's an attack roll. So I could be 600 feet away, and I still have a
Justin,
chance of getting blinded.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You're the only person that attacks from 600 feet away. I'm gonna be real with you. Most everything is
they
within
put
30
sharpshooter.
to 60 feet.
They shouldn't have put sharpshooter in the game then.
I get that.
I'm just using the biggest example. That's
Yeah,
the greatest
yeah.
range that exists if you're doing melee stuff. I mean, but also
Right.
like Eldritch Blast is 150 feet away,
Mm-hmm.
or 120, I think. Maybe it is 150. I forget.
I
But
think it's 120.
still like 100 feet away. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that like your weapon specifically is like casting a very specific spark of light in the direction that the attack
Mhm.
came from and is hitting the person in the eyes. It's just interesting to me. If it was armor, I think I'd be more okay with it. But the fact that it's the weapon,
Well,
so
so
interesting.
I think balance wise, the reason why they did that is because of the fact that you're still at level 6 only going to have, I think, 3 infusions you can have at a time. At level 6, no, you can 3 infused items at a time. So presumably you've already got something on your armor. You have no way to split it off either. Like if you've got something on your armor and on your shield, and then you don't want to get rid of that for whatever. I guess it would make more sense to give it, rather than it being the +1 to the sword, you do it with the armor, but I guess
I don't know.
I
mean,
know.
it's fine.
I
I get it, and it's cool. I
Yeah.
just like in my brain, there's like a disconnect happening here.
Yeah, it's really cool though. I mean, you can.
It's dope.
I mean, it's flashbanging things that attack you, which is always fun.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'm just surprised that they don't put a range.
Right.
Maybe it's because other things are so restrictive that every time there's something that isn't like restrictive, I'm always like, oh wow, they've forgot to put a restriction there. But anyway, next up is the repeating shot. So for this, you're going to be infusing a simple or martial weapon that has the ammunition property. So crossbows, short bows, long bows, hand crossbows, something of that nature. I guess technically a sling would also count, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, it's a simple weapon.
Yeah. This magic weapon now has a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls when it is used to make a ranged attack, and it ignores the loading property. Gotta be honest, don't think I've ever made a player load stuff unless it was
Not
specifically gunslingers in modern campaigns.
Right.
But that's because it's like
There's mechanics
worked
for
into
that.
the mechanics. Yeah.
Right.
Totally different. I also give them the opportunity of buying extended magazines, so it kind of fucking gets rid of it anyway. But they're expensive. Anyway.
That's fair.
If the weapon lacks ammunition, it produces its own. Wild. Automatically creating 1 piece of magic ammunition when the wielder makes a ranged attack with it. The ammunition created by the weapon vanishes the instant after it hits or misses. Whoa.
That's really cool. Cool.
Flavor-wise, it's so fucking cool.
And you're doing magical damage again, because this is now magic ammunition.
Absolutely.
At level 1.
Yeah. Very good point. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. The next one is a biggin. Replicate magic item. Now, this basically, as it sounds, lets you make a magic item from whatever. Like, from the D&D magic items list. as far as the things you can make, you can only make specific items. You can't just make anything, but you can make specific items depending on what level you are as an artificer, and that's obviously in the infusions list built in. And then it says there's one little line right at the end. If you have Xanathar's Guide to Everything, you can choose from among the common magic items in that book when you pick a magic item. So you can do whatever's in the DMG or Xanathar. It just depends, like looking at the tables, what you can make. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because there are literally so many, but we'll kind of take a quick second to go over at second level, you can make kind of simple stuff like alchemy jug, bag of holding. You can make some sending stones, night goggles, like night vision goggles. And these do count against your infusions, by the way. So it's not like you're just making this item and it's like free. It still counts as one of your infusion slots.
Exactly. Yeah. So like at level 2, when you pick up infused item, you can know 4 infusions, but you can only have 2 infused items. If you make a bag of holding and sending stones, that's your 2 infused items. Done.
Yeah.
No extra armor, no blinding fucking weapon. That's a 6th level thing.
That's a 6th level thing, but yeah. But it's still like the plus, you still wouldn't be able to do like up your +1 armor and +1 shoot, +1 weapon. You'd have a bag of holding and sending stones, which depending on how you're playing, totally fine. Like that's totally cool if that's how you want to do it. Just like, there's other things that you can do that generally will be a little more beneficial to you in the short term.
Yeah. And then the nice thing about the infusing or replicating magic items also is just the sense that like as you continue through the campaign, ideally there's a chance that you'll find these magic items and then you can switch up your infusions.
Yep.
And like drop it. Like if you did the bag of holding, but then you find a bag of holding, DMs give out your players bag of holding. Encumbrance is stupid.
Bags of holding. Yes. 100%.
Give them bags for holding.
Give them things to hold things in.
Please. And then give them a different bag of holding to put the bag of holding in and send them to the astral sea.
Don't do that. No.
But anyway, that's really nice is that they can eventually be like, oh shit, another bag of holding. I can get rid of mine.
Right.
And infuse something else, which is very nice. And then there's a whole table for this of like when you're looking in the table or all of the infusions that are possible for artificers. Once you hit replicate magic item, you'll see a table. And it separates it by the prerequisite level that you have to be as an artificer because, everything we mentioned so far, bag of holding, sending stones, pretty basic.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's 6th level, cloak of elven kind, boots of elven kind, gloves of thievery, gets a little better. 10th level, gets even a little better, bracers of archery, cloak of protection.
Headband of intellect, periaptive wound closure, ring of jumping, ring of mind shielding.
Winged boots.
Winged boots.
Cool
winged boots.
And then at 14th level, you get a bunch of other stuff too. Belt of heal, giant strength, boots of speed, bracers of defense, horn of blasting, whatever.
Cloak of the Bat. So I love Cloak of the Bat. It's just got such vibes. Yeah, Ring of the Ram's another really fun one. But yeah, you can do all kind of fun magic items with this. Just keep in mind, they are going to count as an infusion. Once you get up to these 14th level infusions, you're going to have too many infusions to know what to do with, or infused items at the same time to know what to do with. You get level 14, you'll have 5, which is banana sandwich. That's a lot. You'll know 10.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But that is a ton. That's a lot.
That is that for the magic items, I would say. If you're interested, obviously, wikidot.com/artificer:_infusions.
Yeah, check it out. Nice and
check
easy.
it out.
And the thing I love about this Wikidot website, if I can so quickly, is if at any point I'm like looking at Artificer stuff like I am right now, I have the same tab open that you do, /artificer:_infusions. I can just highlight Artificer infusions, like just the end part, and just type in wizard. and it'll just
Right.
go to wizard, and then I can get rid of wizard and type in barbarian. Like, it just makes it fast, you know? I like that. Anyway, the next up is Repulsion Shield. This repulsive shield is ugly. No, I'm kidding. The Repulsion Shield. Prerequisite, 6th level Artificer. You need a shield, and it is going to require attunement when you're done with it. A creature gains a +1 to armor class while wielding the shield. The shield also has 4 charges. While holding it, the wielder can use a reaction immediately after being hit with a melee attack to expend one of the charges and push the attacker up to 15 feet away. Now, this one has a melee attack because it's a shield. That makes a ton of sense. It is also pushing the creature away. So yeah, when you're hit with a melee attack, reaction, no saving throw, just immediately push that creature 15 feet back, which is dope as hell. That's really powerful. Most abilities are 5 to 10 feet. 15 is, it doesn't sound like a lot. It is a lot.
15 is a lot. And without having to make they can't make a strength saving throw or anything like that. That's a lot.
They just get pushed. And it also, oh man, this is another thing that would, as a DM, eventually drive me nuts. There's no size difference. On here either. So it doesn't matter if you're a teeny tiny little guy. Yeah. And you're a gargantuan creature. You can push 15 feet.
15 feet, baby. every foot counts.
Absolutely
on the
wild. But you can only do it once because of the reaction costs. So
you're right.
There's that.
Exactly.
And then you regain 1d4 charges at dawn.
Resistant armor at 6 is the next one. Get that at 6th level. Requires a suit of armor, and it also requires attunement. You choose a damage type that you infuse into the armor, and then you get resistance to that damage. You can do acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder. Each one costs its own known infusion, and each one costs its own infusion slot. You cannot stack them on top of each other with one infusion or anything like that, but you can take this resistant armor infusion multiple times. If you were wanting to do, like, I want to be resistant to fire and cold, you would have to take it twice.
Right.
In order to get both of those. And also you'd have to infuse them onto 2 different magic items unless you're an armorer. Armorer. What a funny word. Anyway.
Okay. That's a cool one, though. I like that a lot. Next up, we have the returning weapon. You need an item that is simpler martial weapon that has the thrown property. So that's an interesting distinction there. Because even though, in theory, you may throw any item you want, I think most DMs would agree. Technically, a great axe doesn't have the thrown property.
Exactly.
Don't come at me with your Baldur's Gate shit. Because I know, as playing a paladin in my current run through, I throw shit all the time. I also am beefing up my paladin speed so much so that I can get everywhere. I have like Misty Step. I have like double speed.
Yeah. Because
paladin wants to get close. Paladin doesn't want to throw a javelin. Paladin wants to hit. But anyway, now with this returning weapon, if I was throwing these javelins, which does have the thrown property, this magic weapon grants a +1 bonus. So already, that's really nice. +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. And it returns to the wielder's hand immediately after it is used to make that ranged attack. So,
hell yeah.
Really, really helpful. Your daggers, your javelins, your darts. I think spears can be thrown. I'm trying to remember everything without looking it up.
Yeah.
What specifically has the thrown property? Hand axes, I know have it.
Yep. There's a bunch.
I know. Now I'm looking it up because I'm just...
We're at an hour and 4 minutes. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Do it.
Last one on the infusions list. We're looking at the spell refueling ring. It's a 6th level. You have to be 6th level to do it. It requires a ring, obviously. While you're wearing the ring, you can recover 1 expended spell slot as an action. It can be a slot of 3rd level or lower. And then once it's used, you can't use it again until the next dawn. Still, it's free spell slot. And I don't know. Would you allow people to make multiple rings if it cost them the infusion slot?
Your things, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely obviously cost, like, each one would cost an infusion slot, but I feel like I would allow Artificer to have a spell refuel, like multiple refueling rings.
Yeah, I might be a dick about how many one player can use.
Fair.
But if you were spreading them out, I'd be fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
Fair
then
enough.
like try and balance that out by having a little bit more combat in between rests.
Right.
Just so that it's not like, oh, okay, so now you guys are just immune to resource drain. It's like, no, we're still going to experience some resource drain, actually, though.
Right.
But, yeah, I would allow it if for some reason somebody wanted to go in that direction, by all means. Because, like we said, there's a lot of really cool infused items, but the spell lists for Artificers isn't, like, so insanely crazy that
it's mostly support
them
stuff.
having extra slots is going to kill me.
I mean, you get you do get a couple of fun acid spells, which not a don't get a lot of love on other things, but like you get like Tasha's Caustic Brew and Melf's Acid Arrow and stuff like that, which are fun, each in their own way. Like because the Caustic Brew causes damage over time, and then the Acid Arrow just does another bit of damage on their turn, which is acid's fun. I don't know. I've used it more in Mythos than I think I've ever used it in D&D in general, but pretty much every one of my attacks was an acid attack.
Yeah, I think Melf's Acid Arrow is specific to the Alchemist.
Okay.
It's like
that's fair.
The equivalent
that's
of
one of their
domain spell. I don't know what
right,
they call it, but
yeah, it is kind of domain spells.
But it is sick. I agree. Acid spells, I wish that they were D6s and not D4s, but I like that they have carryover damage. That's a unique property that I fuck with.
Right. And with it being acid damage, isn't it like trolls or something? Their regeneration property. Some creature has a regeneration property that's stopped by acid damage and fire and acid damage specifically.
Oh, I know trolls have fire. It might also be acid. I'm not sure.
Fair enough.
I'd have to check. But yeah, those are a ton of infusions.
Yeah, that's level 2. That's we're still on level 2, baby. At level 3 for Artificer, I know this one's we told you this is a chonk one, and also this is why we're splitting the subclasses off into their own episode. We're going to get through this, and then that's going to be it.
Yeah.
So at level 3, you're going to get your Artificer subclass. There's the Artillerist, the Alchemist, and the Armorer, and the Battlesmith. They're all cool. We'll go over them next episode. Also at level 3, you're going to get the right tool for the job, which means that you can spend an hour to make any set of artisan's tools. You're going to use, I think it's your smith's tools or thieves' tools to create whatever this other second set of tools is. You can do it on a short or long rest. The tools are non-magical, and then they vanish when you create a different set of tools. So you can only have one set of tools at a time. It costs you at least an hour to make them, but you can make whatever tools you want. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is dope. Super dope.
Depending on what you need them for.
Yeah,
like we were talking about it. Like I don't know if there's a specific like artisan's tools list. I should have looked this up before we started this, because like I see tools, but I don't know what is considered an artisan's tools and what's considered not just a. Oh, it does say right here, artisan's tools are all the main ones. Alchemist supplies, your calligrapher's set, smith's tools, tinker's tools, painter's supplies. It does not include things like the disguise kit, forgery kit, navigator's tools, poisoner's kit. None of those are their own thing, but any of the ones that are like make stuff tools, like those are, you can make any set of those for an hour of time is basically the cost of that.
Could be really helpful.
I believe, I don't know that you get proficiency with them right off the bat. No, you don't. Okay. That's it for level 3. Level 4, ASI or a feat. Go to the one of the other episodes for us to gush about that. Level 5, you're going to get a subclass feature. At level 6, that's when it gets interesting because this is where it kind of compounds on the level 3 thing. At level 6, you get expertise with all tools. Expertise, double proficiency with all tools, which is absolutely insane.
Ooh, I'm not reading that the same way.
You're not reading that the same way? What are you not reading? What are you reading?
At 6th level, your proficiency bonus is now doubled for any ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. So if you're not proficient with a tool, then it wouldn't give you expertise. You have to already be proficient with the tool set, and then you get expertise. So any tool set that you're proficient with, you're now an expert in. But if you're not proficient in, I don't know, wood carver's tools, then you don't just automatically become an expert in it, is how I'm reading that.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. All right. I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, I think that there's...
So you're only getting... So you'll only get the one tool proficiency then at the beginning, one artisan tools. That kind of makes it less...
Yeah. Well, because you're...
exciting.
I mean, thieves tools, tinker tools, and artisan. And that one choice of artisans.
One set of artisan tools.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes sense, but it's a little... makes me sad. No, and I was going back to the right tool for the job just to see if maybe I forgot that there was some kind of proficiency that you get from that, and that's true. I think you're reading it correct. I think that your reading of the rules is correct. I got excited and squirrel.
Yeah, no, because it is wild at 6th level to be like, you're an expert in every tool ever.
I mean, it's cool though.
It is super fucking cool. It is super fucking cool.
Because
we
it's
talked
broken.
about tools don't get used a ton.
Yeah. It's so cool because it's broken. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So expertise with some tools. You get expertise with whatever you're proficient in tool wise. At level 7, you get one of the kind of iconic artificer feats called Flash of Genius. If you or another creature you can see within 30 feet makes a roll, you can use a reaction to add your intelligence modifier to that roll. You can do it up to your intelligence modifier times per long rest.
Incredible. That's a great ability. Flash of Genius is like the ability that as a DM, like I said in the very beginning of the episode, I don't know a ton about artificers. It's the ability as a DM that I hear about the most because it's the one where it's like, I'm going to add Flash of Genius to that. And I'm always like, oh shit, okay, what does that make it now?
And like, I think the reason for that is because a lot of the artificer stuff is just kind of passive. You make these things and then you move on with your life. And like it, for sure. You just have all these extra little tools and stuff. But yeah, so as far as Flash of Genius goes, though, it's really nice. It's just another kind of little perk of this class.
Yeah.
Level 8 ASI or a feat. Level 9 subclass feat.
Oh, speaking of subclass, most of the subclasses also give you tool proficiencies. So that's back to tool expertise.
True. Yeah.
Get extra ones too.
Right. That's very true. Each one has their own kind of specialty tool, artisan tool
like
they use.
Alchemist, Smith,
has the
whatever.
Yeah. So that's cool. So if you're, you'll get at least
one
two. You'll get at least two artisan tool proficiencies or expertise in 2 artisan's tools, which is nice.
Yeah. Plus your tinkers.
Plus your tinker's tools. Yep. And thieves tools.
And it just says tools. It doesn't say artisan tools. So also thieves tools.
Right, thieves tools, yeah. So you're good at traps. You're going to
be
too.
An expert at least 4 of them,
which is nice. Yeah, it's just one of those things that the tool checks don't come up a whole lot, which we'll have to fix. Well, we're going to have to re-educate the masses on.
Yeah, for sure.
But
hopefully, if you're playing the Artificer and you got all these tool proficiencies, ask for those checks, man.
Hell yeah.
Sometimes it is going to fall. Of course, the DM can do so much, but also players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speak up. Ask for checks. Don't knock the hustle, right? We have players
Right.
who ask for the most absurd shit. And you know
Can I
what?
throw
You can't
some
knock the
chlorine
hustle.
tablets?
Oh my god, I wasn't even thinking of that, but yes, that was another one.
Anyway, that wasn't really a tool check. It's just the first thing that came to my mind when you said our players ask for some wild shit. That's one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
There's a hot tub. Surely there's chlorine tablets. It's like, I guess there would be chlorine tablets.
Hilarious. Go check out Mythos University on YouTube. That's a lot of fun. Level 10, Magic Item Adept. That's going to give you an extra attunement slot. Oh boy. And as far as like crafting a magic item with a rarity of common or uncommon, it takes a quarter of the normal amount of time and half as much gold.
Sick.
I'm not sure where, like going over the base Artificer stuff, I don't know where it says anything about how much time it takes other than it just takes like, it would take like a long rest of infusing an item, right?
Yeah, great question.
But it doesn't say anything about how much gold it costs.
Yeah, I don't.
So I don't know.
Really see anything.
That's something like I don't know. It's something that it says it here is this. It takes a quarter amount of the normal time and half as much gold. Is literally the first time or gold is ever brought up on crafting a magic item.
Beats me, man. Because none of the magic items have set prices in 5e, right?
Right.
It's all ranges. So yeah, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So handle that with
How
your
you
own
will.
mind and have fun.
Have fun. It's a game. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. The big thing at level 10, obviously, is the extra attunement slot. So you can attune 4 things. Yep.
Huge.
Huge.
In 5e, that's huge.
Yeah. And it gets better once we get like high level Artificer is an absolute freaking techno monster. Because at level 11, you can create a spell storing item, which when you finish a long rest, you can touch a simple or martial weapon or an item that you can use as a spellcasting focus and then store a first or second level Artificer spell in it. The spell must cost an action to cast. It doesn't have to be on your prepared spell list. You can use any known spell on there. The spell can be used by anyone, and it uses your spellcasting modifier. I just have concentration. Okay. If the spell requires concentration, it's whoever uses it has to put the concentration on it. But that's really cool because like if you want to do something like I don't know if bless is one of the spells that you can do, but a lot of these first and second level buffs, you can now basically put it in an item and then give it to another player to hang on to and cast, and then you still have your concentration slot open. Like you would give it, could give it to a non-caster of some sort that can focus on concentration there.
Yeah. And it's first or second level spells, right? So just so many interesting ideas. There's kinetic jaunt, invisibility, heat metal, enlarge, reduce, enhance ability, blur. Those are all second level, but some solid ass ideas.
So here's where it really, really gets busted. All right. This spell stays until it has been used up to 2 times your intelligence modifier, or if you use the feat to store a different spell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're level 11, you're hopefully rocking that sweet +5 in your intelligence. This spell can be used 10 times. You can infuse this item, or like store a spell in it, give it to somebody. They can use that spell 10 times.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, what am I thinking? Shield. You can store 10 shield spells. Oh no, it must cost an action to cast. Never mind. They got me. They got me. They sussed it out. It does have to be an action to cast, so you can't put shield in it.
Plus,
but
shield I think is specific to certain subclasses because it's not on the main Artificer spell list.
Right, but I mean, if you are one of those subclasses, it counts as an Artificer spell.
Yeah. That's wow. It has to take an action. I was looking at
it has to take an
jaunt.
action. Yes, it has to be an action to cast. But I mean, something like alter self. woodwork or you know,
Web.
see invisibility, web, yeah, absorb elements.
Crazy. You could
10 times, 10
you
you.
could
Oh no, that's
put it
reaction
on
again.
the
Damn it.
put it on the fucking barbarian, and it now jump. They have jump,
Yeah.
or they have like expeditious retreat. No, that's a bonus action. Fuck me.
There's a lot. Guidance. You can put guidance on there.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Resistance.
So many options.
So many things.
Dude.
Catapult is a really good one. I almost used that the other night. I was up there. Catapult's a really good spell.
Catapult's a great spell.
But yeah, 10 times.
Yeah, that's fucking dope as hell. So moving along, 12th level, ASI or feat. 13th level, you don't get jack shit except for 4th level spell slots. I just saw the little dash next to where it normally says what you get.
Yeah, nothing.
I was like, you don't get nothing.
You
do get 4th level spell slots. Fabricate, Arcane Eye, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, Odaluke's Resilient Sphere, Summon Construct. So, some goodies.
Level 14, Magic Item Savant. Guess what? That's another attunement slot, baby. And also, you can ignore all class, race, spell, and level requirements for attuning or using magic items. That's also really huge.
That can be really huge. How huge depends a little bit on the DM and the table, you know? For example, normally 90% of you can't use a scroll unless you have casting. And I'm one of the DMs who's like, I think it's so funny to have the barbarian use a scroll. I'm going to let them. But that's specific to me. Right. But it is still huge.
It's still pretty freaking awesome. I'm thinking of certain magic items like the weird druid staff that can turn into a tree.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that where it's must be wielded by a bard. Like the instrument of the bards. Right. Is one.
Exactly. Yeah, so you ignore all of that stuff.
There's a lot of those. Yeah, for sure. So that's 14th level, right?
14th level, yep.
Hell yeah. 15th level, we get another subclass feature. 16th level, another ASI or feat. 17th level, just a 5th level spell slots now, finally. Other than that, you don't get nothing.
Nothing. You don't get nothing. Although,
but honestly, at 5th level,
you do get
spells. You're finally getting some solid ass spells. Granted, it took you till 17th level to get here. That's for me. Justin is always the hardest thing in the universe because I'm always God damn, dude. Other people got these spells at 10th or something. But you get animate objects. Big B's Hand, which is a spell I've always wanted to cast as a player. Creation, Greater Restoration, Transmute Rock, Wall of Stone, Skill Empowerment, which I'm going to look up now privately because I don't know what that does.
It's you give expertise in a skill.
Nailed it. Yeah. There you go. And it lasts an hour.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
I'll never take that.
Yeah, Greater Resto is awesome.
Yeah, I'm picking animate object way before I'm picking skill empowerment.
Oh yeah. All right, level 19, ability score increase, and finally at level 20, you get the Soul of Artifice. This lets you gain a +1 bonus to all saving throws for each item that you have attuned, which at this point you have 6 attunement slots, so you have +6 on your saving throws. And then, if you drop to 0 HP, you can use your reaction and end an infusion on an item to drop to 1 HP instead. Which again, at this point, at level 20, you have 6 items that you're infused to. So this is 6 times, theoretically, that you could bounce back from 0 HP.
Oh my god, dude. The RP of snuffing the life out of your homunculus to bring yourself back up.
Oh my god, yeah.
What a brutal but beautiful moment that would be. Oh god. And I don't know if it was said, maybe I just missed it, but at 18th level is when you get 6 attunement slots.
6 attunement slots, yeah.
Yeah, just in case it wasn't said. It may have been said and I just missed it. But
Yeah, we're running close to an hour and a half here.
no doubt.
we gotta get this going.
Yeah, but that's a dope 20th level thing. I mean,
I love it. Yeah, when
saving
I read that,
throws
that's
per
why
magic item you're attuned to. That's up to a +6 on every saving throw.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. So fucking cool. And what's this? At level 21, you become the spokesperson for tap water.
There it is.
I don't
All
know
right.
what that
So,
means.
that's all we can get into this
Apparently,
time. You can find us
something to do
on
with
TikTok
drinking water.
and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us. And check us out on Patreon and on Twitch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See you.
And now I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Lee, we can't wait to roll dice with you. Nub Muffins, may Paylor's light shine upon you. And there's Vanessa D, Talk Screen, and Tappy. If you want a shout out, join the Adult or Ancient Dragon gangs on Patreon. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.